Perfect.
That was like the weirdest thumb wrestle I think I've ever seen. Hello and welcome to another edition of Popcorn Bucket List. Let's just get the mask thing out of the way there. Okay, there's Ryan Myberg. I introduced you. Now take the freaking mask off, dude.
Okay, first, before I take it off, this is, since it's Halloween-ish, this is Iron Maiden's Eddie from A Piece of Mine album. Okay, we can take it off now.
Okay. For the record, I did not approve of this adjustment, but he refused to take it off until I introduced him. So there we go.
Well, he took it off for a minute, and then as soon as you walked back into the room,
I thought I could like sneak in there, get the show started before.
It was hot. It was hot in there.
Anyways, but let's introduce the real stars of the show here today. Joining us, Taylor Benson, you're returning to PBL once again, and making her debut, Bryn Mojo, stars of the upcoming theater production Little Women. That'll be happening here within this next week. It's also kind of a tie-in to our opening spotlight here today, but before we get into that, really, let's talk a little bit about the show here and everything, times and whatnot. Yeah. What can you tell us about the production Little Women here today?
You want it? You? Me? Okay. So it's based off of the classic novel by Louisa May Alcott. And it pulls some really just key moments from the Thank You, Taylor, from the original book. You'll be seeing some stuff that you have seen in films that have grown in popularity and all that good stuff. I play Jo. That helped. Yeah. And I play Meg. I would consider this particular adaptation by Jacqueline Goldfinger to be like kind of an abridged version of Little Woman. It's about 90-ish minutes. Yeah, they hit the big stuff. Yeah, most of the big stuff. There's some stuff missing, like Amy burning all of Jo's stuff and then falling through the ice.
So it's like this is just a little bit shorter than the.
Yeah.
Okay. Is it a pretty long production?
I don't remember the movie being terribly long, but now that I think about it, I think it did cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think the one I had originally thought we were doing, because I misread things. Last time I was on here, I thought we were doing the musical, and that's about 2-hour long show. Yep. So it's pretty significant difference.
Yeah.
A little less to rehearse there, too, as
well.
As much as I would have liked to see a Little Women musical as well. But, yeah, it's been adapted to a few different film adaptations and everything.
Quite a few.
And kind of cool to see it come to stage here. The showtimes, correct me if I ever get any of these wrong here, premiering October 25th. That'll be at 7:30 p.m. at the SMSU Theater here on Southwest Minnesota State University campus. They will also be having showtimes at 7:30, both October 26th and 27th. That'll be a Thursday and a Friday. October 28th, there will be both a 2 p.m. and a 7:30 p.m. showtime, so 2 chances there. And then your last chance to check it out, October 29th, Sunday. That'll be a 2 p.m. matinee. So a few chances to check it out here, but be sure to get there early, because sometimes seats can kind of fill up there.
Yeah. Tickets are also free for SMSU students.
Yes.
With presentation of your school ID.
Yep.
Right? Because that's every night now, right? Yep. Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
But like I said, that kind of ties into our opening spotlight here this week. We are talking about stage to screen adaptations here on Popcorn Bucket List. Not only do we shine a spotlight on the screen, I like to shine a spotlight on the stage as well, because they can be kind of interchangeable. How many times does a production start on stage and then move over to the screen, and then vice versa? Every once in a while, it kind of switches back over as well. So we're going to talk about some of our favorite ones here today, and I'm already annoyed because you filled out some of the outline before, and I put you before me, and you took my favorite one. So I'm definitely not going to be sore about that.
I just changed one of my answers because I just remembered one of my favorite musicals that for some reason I didn't think of.
That's what I love about these discussions. We've talked about this before. We'll think about it for a little bit before, and we'll be like, yeah, it's a pretty good list. And then like a couple of days later, you'll be like, why didn't I think of that?
I missed that one.
Why did I do that? How could I have forgotten that one?
Or when we were talking about the Halloween movies, the kid Halloween movies, it was like, oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Those were great movies.
Monster House.
Yeah,
love Monster House.
We talked about that one.
That's on the list.
It's on there.
It's a good one.
I have a video of my dog watching that one scene where the dog gets eaten by the house, and she did not like it. She did not like it.
I don't blame her. That's not a fun scene for anyone.
She was staring at the TV, and then as soon as the dog was eaten, she just looks over at me like, huh?
What are you doing?
What?
Yeah.
I thought we were friends here. What is this?
I didn't force her to watch it. She just came out into the living room at that exact time.
Fair enough.
That's what they all say.
Enough. But Taylor, why don't you kick us off here with this discussion? What's one of your number one recommended stage to screen adaptations you can think of here?
Number one has got to be Mamma Mia. I love Mamma Mia. It is my favorite thing in the entire world. It's just so much fun. It's just fun. There's no other way to describe it.
And there is sort of a mystery to it too as well, which I remember when I first started seeing this. When this movie came out, I wasn't as into musicals because I was like a dumb kid at that point who just wanted action movies. Like, we all had that phase. But then when I kind of found out it was the whole, like, who's the dad mystery, I was like, all right, I'll stick around and watch out the rest of this. Because I think my aunt was visiting that weekend and she wanted to watch it again. And I was like, when it gets to the end, spoiler alert, they don't really solve the mystery. And I was like, what the heck is this?
They just kind of pinpoint the most likely one.
Yeah, it's kind of, here's probability wise, it doesn't matter. It's up to you, whatever.
Now, isn't there a Mamma Mia 2?
Yeah.
Do they solve the mystery in that one?
No.
Oh.
Okay, good to know before I see that. So, okay, good.
They do not. I don't know. I just cry every time I see the movie too.
It does have pretty good songs. If you're into ABBA, if you're into that, that's a pretty
it's not
good
the song.
soundtrack.
It's not at Winner Takes It All like one would think either. It's literally during Dancing Queen. I cry during Dancing Queen. I don't know why.
That's a discussion for another day, I think.
Yeah.
Bryn, why don't you take us into the next one here? What's one of your number one recommends for
All
screen
right.
to or stage to screen?
Little Shop of Horrors. It's one of my favorite shows. It's also it's a show that's really hard to actually put on stage because of that plant. So people really avoid doing it on stage, so there's not many opportunities to actually go see it, but since they made it into a film, it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah.
Especially with the plant too, you need to have like 6 separate different puppets that each do something completely different, and one of them needs to support like a whole human sliding through. So extremely difficult.
I would almost argue though this is one of those things where going to screen would make it easier because on stage you have to hide all of that.
Yeah.
Like you can't break the magic there. With screen, you can just point the camera in this one direction and the guy could be out in the open doing the puppeteer stuff as need be.
It's like Phantom of the Opera, extremely difficult stage production, but like a lot easier to film as a movie.
Exactly, yeah. Mr. Meyerberg, why don't you tell us the number one you have that stole from mine?
All right. So this film I watched in high school, I believe. It's the first time we watched it in my, what's the government class that you take?
Social studies?
Social studies, but civics. Yeah.
Oh, I never took a civics class.
Yeah.
It was social studies and government.
Every school calls it different things.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
But we watched 12 Angry Men. And the first thing that stuck out to me is I'm a huge Twilight Zone fan. And almost all of those actors were in very popular and very big Twilight Zone episodes. And it was like, this is a fantastic film. And I never knew I knew a little bit about the judicial system and the whole process, but like how convincing a jury and looking at all the options and like proven or innocent until proven guilty. And I loved that movie. We watched it again in college and it was fantastic. And actually I think it was on TV probably like 3 or 4 months ago and I ended up watching the whole thing. So I love that film. It's so fantastic.
Good. It's a good play too.
Yeah.
It's a very fun play.
And I've never seen it on the stage where I think if it was somewhere close or somewhere, I'd go watch it, but I just haven't seen it yet.
12 Angry Men is in my top 10 movies of all time.
Yes, mine too.
You can see why I'm so angry at this guy for taking that one now.
It's so simple, but so good.
Yeah,
right? Exactly. Like, it is, the title leaves nothing to the imagination.
No.
It's literally just 12 dudes in a room.
Yep.
Like, there's no spoiler.
Call that my family Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, and I think with film and stage, it's difficult also is like your entire play or film or production is technically in like one room. Like it's like how do you keep the energy, keep the pace, keep everything going? So it's awesome. It's great.
Oh yeah.
So for my number one here, I'm going to do one that's old school and one that's a little bit more modern. And the old school one I'm going to do here, I didn't realize was also a stage production, but I'm going to talk about Alfred Hitchcock's Rope. Alfred Hitchcock, as a director, as we kind of look back on now, he was kind of a jerk. I just want to make sure that is out in the open. I like to keep everything balanced here, but he was the master of tension. And especially in this movie / play, I mean, you as the audience are in on it from the beginning, and there's a whole bunch of characters, and it's a mystery film that involves a murder, but the murder isn't the mystery. It's, okay, who's going to figure this out first, or how are they going to figure it out first? And I'm going to kind of draw that back to a recent TV show that I've been watching here, Poker Face, very similar. I'm not going to get too much into that show. I've recommended it on this show before, but it shows you exactly how the crime is committed first, and then it's, okay, how is this character going to figure it out, sort of thing. It's a whole different brand of mystery.
It's like the opposite.
Exactly.
Almost.
Yeah.
Like,
it's almost telling it in inverse order.
Yeah. It's like the complete opposite of like who done it. It's like, you know who done it.
Yeah.
But like,
let's figure out
how did they do it?
What I like to call is, instead of a who done it, ask the where, what, and why instead of the who. It gives you the who. Usually most mysteries gives you the where, when, and why. You got to figure out the who. And sometimes even the how or whatever. But yeah, it's kind of the opposite here. So I love those kind of mysteries. They're different types of mysteries, super tense. And, and it's one of those that it's technically all shot in one, or it's supposed to make it look like that, but it's a very, very early film. So instead of the tricks we use today, like in 1917 or something like that, he literally just like goes in on someone's back and then just pulls out again. It's the cheapest way to pull that off.
I miss old movie transitions.
Man, it was so much simpler to be a creative director back then. Like back then, that was revolutionary. He just went into their back and then pulled back out. Like, nowadays, you have to invent a new camera, but... let's keep going around here. Let's get some other recommends here. Bryn, do you mind taking us? What's another one you've got on your list, maybe?
Gosh, I put Hairspray on mine. So I'm from Baltimore, Maryland. Like my dad lives there still, and I remember when I was watching the film originally, I was watching it because my dad was like, "Hey, they filmed this on our street," because it was filmed in Hamden. So we got to watch that, and it was so cool. And I love the musical in general. Good Morning Baltimore is something that Taylor has sung at me when I wake up sometimes.
We used to live together.
Yeah. I'd wake up, be having a real rough morning, and Taylor's like, "Good morning, Baltimore." I'm not having it.
I'm not going to tell you
that was pretty nice.
I know that was really good. But I was going to have to stop you, because if we keep going longer, we're going to get copyright. But that was awesome. That was awesome. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Is filmed on the street you grew up on?
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
So in Hamden, Baltimore, there's the Avenue is what we call it, and specifically, I can see, like, I live a couple blocks down, technically like Wyman Park, but there's this laundromat sign where like a lot of like the action happens when Tracy's at home, and it's the laundromat sign of the actual laundromat in Hamden.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out now. That's pretty awesome.
I would walk past it every day on the way to my friend's house. Or it was pretty cool. It was pretty insane. I was like, oh my gosh, I know where this is.
Yeah.
This is news to me. I did not know that was filmed in Hamden.
Yeah.
I knew it was filmed in Baltimore,
like blocks away from the.
But I didn't know it was like filmed by where you live.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool.
You learn something new every day. Doesn't matter how long you've known a person.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day. Ryan, why don't you take us into your next pick? What's another one you want to shout out here? I see you got two listed here. I'm curious which one you're going to go with.
I'm going to go with Sweeney Todd. But I got to add a little caveat onto it, because I don't get me wrong, I really like the Johnny Depp version. It's fantastic. It's great. But I watched another version in high school, courtesy of Dan Smith, if you're watching. Thank you. You're an awesome teacher. You're the man. You're also my neighbor, so that's cool. But anyways, I don't remember the name of the theater. It's a certain style of theater that you can see, like, the stagehands, and they leave the lights on in the back, and like you can see everybody doing everything. But they did a version of Sweeney Todd, and it was captivating. I don't remember who the people were, but it just blew my mind watching it, and it was awesome.
I saw a production kind of like that at North Hennepin Community College my senior year. but they had the director's concept that they had was that they were telling a story in like a homeless shelter. So everyone was like putting on costumes over like their actual costumes. And it was really cool. And like everything was like super like kind of kept it like low key, but also like still creepy.
Yeah.
It was really fun.
Cool.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Sweeney Todd, it's fantastic. It's great. The music, awesome. Well, especially the Johnny Depp one. It's so dark and brooding.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Let's take a quick minute here and talk about the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota. The leaves are changing color, which means fall has officially arrived as we enter into the month of October. More spooky kind of movies may be showing up here on most channels and at most theaters, but don't worry because movies of all genres and for all ages will always be available over at the Marshall 6 Theater. Also, as the temperatures tend to go down a little bit more, feel free to escape the weather by heading indoors and enjoying some very warm concessions, snacks, and comfy seats, and enjoy a flick while you're there as well. So head on over to the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota.
Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
That might have been peak Tim Burton right there.
Yeah.
Or close to peak Tim Burton.
There's someone on TikTok right now that is covering Sweeney Todd songs in Kermit the Frog voice.
Yep.
Ooh.
I've heard a couple Toads in there too.
Yep. It's one of my favorite things in the world.
I
right
love
now.
it. I love it.
It's keeping me together.
Yeah.
Whatever it
It's
takes.
the only consistent thing in my life.
Sweeney Frog.
Sweeney
Toad.
Ooh, that's
Sweeney
good.
Toad would be
That's
better,
good.
I think. The modern one I'm going to pick here, this is another one that I was actually kind of surprised was a stage production first. The movie Frost Nixon. Yes, believe it or not, this was a stage production started around 2006, 2007, I think, if my memory is correct. And then Ron Howard adapted it in 2008. So it hadn't been a stage production for long at that point. But this is a great historical drama. It's got really good performances, and it really adds to my argument that I think Ron Howard is one of the most underrated directors that we have out there, especially considering how he's probably best known to some people as that little kid in the old-timey shows and everything. It's like, no, this guy's like, I mean, I've said before, I think he directed one of the greatest sports movies of all time. I'm alone in that argument, but whatever. It's okay. I'm fine. But yeah, Frost Nixon is a great historical drama, and like I said, was also kind of a stage production. Taylor, why don't you take us into this final pick of this round two? What's one that you want to shout out here?
Well, my second pick, because I got skipped in the last round.
I do rotations.
Thanks
I
to
do.
someone.
What?
Oh, well, the second
he
pick
stole
was
mine
also,
too, so we're both kind of
he
mad
stole my
at him
Sweeney
right
Todd. But for my top third, I'd have to say right on my little sheet here, I have Phantom of the Opera. But as we started filming, I remembered my absolute most favorite musical ever, at all. Period. The last 5 years. It's one of my favorite things ever. Funny story. It was actually written about. It's kind of based off of a true story, kind of. The guy essentially he cheated on his wife, and he wrote a musical trying to
I think I heard about this. I think I've heard
put
about
her
this.
on blast, and then everyone sides with the female, obviously, because he cheated on her. He cheated on her, and then tried to write a musical about her, saying, "No, you're in the wrong."
And like, what's best is that people were like supporting her, being like, "I love the wife, like the wife character. She's such a strong woman, and this guy sucks."
Yeah.
And then he came forward and he was like, "What do you mean he sucks? He's me."
Yeah.
So did he actually act in the?
No.
But
No.
Had he written was he in that space before? Or was he just like, this happened?
Well, okay,
I'm gonna write a play about it.
Before we go too into it, what was the title again for those out
The
there?
last 5 years.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said you saw it in the last 5 years.
Oh, no.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, the movie starring Anna Kendrick and Jeremy Jordan,
Okay.
which are actually two Broadway veterans. So
Yep.
it's a very good movie, and it's told with two very different timelines. So it starts at the end of the breakup from the girl's perspective, Kathy's perspective, and then her timeline goes backwards, and then it's interlaced with scenes from the man's perspective, Jamie's perspective, and his goes from the very start of the relationship to the very end when he cheats on her. And it's confusing the first time you watch it, but if you go into it with the knowledge, okay,
That sounds.
Kathy's is going backwards, Jamie's is going forwards,
That sounds like a Christopher Nolan movie. It was
Yeah.
made into a musical.
Oh, I was so lost.
That's Memento, basically, but with songs.
I
right?
was so lost the first time I watched it. I was like, what is happening?
That sounds, because I think I had heard that story. I hadn't seen the movie or the play, but I think I had heard or read that
good.
story somewhere. I'm gonna have to
Yeah,
check
that's
that one out.
that's a fascinating story.
Also,
to
half
go
of-
on top of it.
Half of my audition book is last 5 years. So.
I'm working on a song from last 5 years
Yeah.
right now.
That's awesome.
Bryn knows how much I love last 5 years.
That's awesome. Are there any other honorable mentions you guys want to throw out here real quick? Just some ones you were thinking of?
I'm trying to figure out if is this the last round, or what was it? Was this anything else?
I got one I could say real quick.
Yeah, well, I don't have you written down in the honorable mention category.
okay.
So
Shoot.
also, you stole 12 Angry Men from me, so I'm gonna
That's
be
true.
I'm gonna be sore for that for the next few days.
That's all right.
Because I feel like you know how much I love that movie,
It's a
and
great
you
movie.
could have chose to pick something else.
You put me on the list first.
because I was
So
being
that's-
nice. We've been doing this for over 100 episodes. I don't know if you
We've
can tell
done
the
this for a
tension at
long
this
time.
point. Yeah.
This is
So
an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Something happened. Something happened before this.
Yeah.
what hasn't happened
There's
before?
been
Yeah.
a lot.
Anyway, so are there any? Okay, fine. I'll open up to the table. Any other honorable mentions before we move on here?
Well, we both have Les Mis.
Yeah,
I'm looking
I
at
was
your
gonna
thing, that's
say
what I had.
it's the most basic honorable mention coming from a theater person, but I gotta say Les Mis. They did such a good job with the spectacle of the musical itself, while also like keeping it true. Like they did actual like singing on the set rather than recording it. Like
They made Anne
pre-filming.
Hathaway look like garbage.
yeah.
Which is
Anne Hathaway.
hard.
Anne Hathaway eats in that movie. I cry every single time during I Dreamed a Dream. Samantha Bark, same thing. I cry every time during On My Own. And then she's actually, I don't know if she still is, but she went on to go play Eponine in the West End version recently. So she revived her role, which I thought was amazing. And
That's cool.
It's just so good.
I start crying the second the bishop comes on screen and starts talking to Jean Valjean. If you're wondering, that is about 10 minutes into the movie, and
Yeah.
that's when I
Into
start
the
crying.
2.5 hour long movie.
and then I continue until the end.
Yep.
What character was Russell Crowe?
He was
Javert.
Javert.
Okay.
Yep.
I like him.
He's the guy who's chasing after Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
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 Which I always found ironic because it was the guy who they wanted to play Wolverine chasing after Wolverine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to sneak in some comic book knowledge into the musical. I know it wasn't needed, but whatever.
It's a good musical, though.
It is.
It's also a classic. Like, it's probably one of the first things that someone outside of theater thinks of when they hear the word musical. They're like, oh, Les Miserables.
Yep. I can see that.
Or Rent. Or Rent, yeah. Or Phantom.
Rent. Yeah.
Hamilton.
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
probably the big
Hamilton.
one now. Yeah.
I think they rumored. Obviously, there's the recorded stage version, but I think they've rumored probably like an actual like narrative film version. I think
That
for a
does
while
not surprise
now.
me.
I think I read that at one point, but that was a while ago.
Yeah, I know, like-
obviously.
Yeah.
You know where they're coming from. On
Yeah.
that
They got to
one,
do the
yeah.
Wicked movie first, and
Yep,
for some
that's
reason
right. I
they're
forgot
splitting it
about
up into
Wicked.
2 movies.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah.
Cash
What do you,
grab.
okay, so what do you guys
How
think
are
of
they
that?
going to do?
Can Wicked be split into 2 movies?
I have a
'Cause-
very strong.
all right, here we go.
Don't mirror
Okay.
me.
Let
I
it
have
go,
a
let it
very
go.
strong opinion on this. So, I'm sure you know this. They used to put intermissions in movies to kind of break the tension, allow people to go to the bathroom, get some snacks. The reason why they are splitting Wicked into 2 movies is because nothing can come after Defying Gravity, which is false. Which camera's on right now?
You're
False.
this camera.
This camera, that one. Which is false.
You got there eventually.
Because in the stage production,
Proud of
obviously there's an intermission and you go back to the second act. So I just don't understand why they're splitting the movie up into 2 things other than trying to make more money.
Yeah,
So
that's almost always
Exactly.
the
I'm
reason
very
and
upset
purpose,
about
yeah.
it.
Yep. That's a
I'm
great
gonna-
song.
Britton,
by
you
the
look like
way.
you
Yeah.
have some thoughts on it too here, however.
There's also been some problems on
Yes,
set.
there has
Let's be
been.
honest. That drew some attention to one of the shows I was working on this summer, SpongeBob the Musical. It has drawn this event has drawn a lot of attention to that, and now I think they were already going to. It's Ariana Grande and Ethan Slater. I'm gonna make that. I'm just gonna say that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
It's SpongeBob.
I was trying to do the math in my head too. Quick, I was like, "Wait, what does SpongeBob have to do with this?" And then,
It's the man who played
it took me-
SpongeBob.
It took me a second.
Yeah.
Yep. All right.
The one who looks like a Walmart version of Michael Cera.
We're there.
SpongeBob.
We're with you now.
Yeah.
We're with you
SpongeBob
now.
himself, the homewrecker. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
something about that laugh just must be so enduring.
Well, I mean, Ariana Grande was with Pete Davidson too, so maybe it's just a
But
comedian
that's
thing.
Pete Davidson.
He did
He
the
can pull anyone.
he did the I'm Just Ken spoof on SNL that he hosted this
God, I
weekend.
love
He did.
him.
Yeah,
He also
they
did a
whole-
Travis Kelce bit,
I love
Yeah.
him.
which is going into a different world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it when other people have rants on here other than me because it just looks like I'm complaining about stuff all the time. So I love it when other people come on the show and
I'm
like,
passionate
get
about
passionate
movie
about
musicals.
stuff. No, that's what I
Because those are the only things I follow.
It's passion, but when I do it week to week
Yeah.
and no one else is here and he's just listening, I look crazy.
Yup.
But when other people do it, then it kind of justifies me a little bit. So thank you
There's-
for that.
yes.
And looking
I
forward.
couldn't rant last time because it was about favorite movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
we didn't really have a chance to rant. But when Wicked comes out, we'll have to have you guys back on
Ooh.
again. And
Oh, we'll have
I
opinions.
I'll
this
have
is-
some
This
words.
is cheaper than therapy, people.
I'll have
that's all
some
I'm gonna-
words.
There'll
that's
be
all
a
I'm gonna say.
plethora of
Me and
thoughts
Bryn will
and
take
feelings.
notes. We'll go to the theater. We'll take some notes.
I'll get the censor bar ready.
I'll
we'll
drive
beep out
back
the
from
swear words.
Minneapolis for
Yep,
this.
We'll do all
Perfect.
that.
Well, what was your guys' opinion on Cats?
Okay.
No,
okay.
no.
3 hours later.
Well, let's move on then to the weekly preview, talking about stuff that is coming out here this weekend. A little bit more of a downer this weekend. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean a bad thing, but just fair warning. Friday, October 20th, the big premiere coming to theaters here. Killers of the Flower Moon, like I said, coming straight to theaters. Grandpa Scorsese is back with some real cinema. Sorry, I might be a little salty on that.
Yeah, you're a little salty on that.
Dang.
Look, he can have
Some
his opinion.
real.
I don't care. I don't care what he says, honestly. I do care about his direction, and he is a very good director. And this time he is tackling a true story about what is known as the Osage murders. At first, when I started watching this trailer, I was like, oh my gosh, he's doing a true story that isn't about gangsters. And then you kind of watch a little bit more, and I'm like, well, it's like Old West gangsters, I guess,
Yeah.
really.
I would
when you
consider
think about
cowboy
it.
gangsters.
Yeah, it's basically cowboy gangsters.
just different part.
Yeah,
That's what I
different
want to be
time
when I
period.
grow up.
A cowboy gangster.
That's what I want to be when I grow up. Yeah.
Yep.
Cowboy gangsters. It was a lot simpler back then.
It
you know?
was.
It was.
Yeah, so those of you who don't know, back in the early 1900s, the Osage tribe discovered oil on their land and basically became millionaires overnight. In true historical fashion, the white settlers of the time basically conned, stole, and eventually murdered, as the title of the movie suggests, the tribe of their money. This story kind of tackles that and everything, the mystery behind it. Stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Niro.
Whoa.
Robert De
Demirio.
Niro.
Demirio.
That's Robert De Niro's brother,
up-and-comer.
Robert De Niro. Yeah, obviously because it's a Scorsese movie, it's going to star them too.
Yeah.
But it also stars Jesse Plemons. I know you're a big fan of Jesse.
Friend of the show.
Yeah, friend of the show, Jesse Plemons. Lily Gladstone and Brendan Fraser.
Yep.
He doesn't really show up in the trailer, but he's in the cast list.
He's
here.
there.
So
Yeah.
the Fraser revolution has continued.
He's there.
I can't
Love
wait.
it.
This movie's going to be so awesome. I can't wait to see it.
Does this movie kind of feel like the unofficial start to Oscar season? You got a Scorsese movie. You got Leo. He only shows up in a movie like every few years. But, I mean, he's got his best actor now, but he's still
I was gonna say
acting.
he's won his Oscar.
He's
but
won his Oscar. Watch him just go on a run now.
He's gotten
just
his
gonna
white
get like
whale.
a bunch in a row or
Yeah.
something like that.
He's
but-
defeated his white whale.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. As I was kind of watching this, I'm like, it's a little early, but it kind of feels like a
Yeah.
preseason to Oscar
Yeah.
season almost.
And-
Like an appetizer.
Exactly. Yeah.
And nothing really has come out over the past couple of
Yeah.
weeks, couple of months maybe,
Yeah.
that besides Oppenheimer. Other than
Yeah.
that, I don't think anything else. So
Yeah, I'd call Oppenheimer the pregame for the
Yeah.
Oscar season. Yes. That's the pregame. Then
That was
we
the
went
pregame.
we went to the
Yeah.
next bar, and now we're getting the appetizers.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yep.
There we go. We figured out the metaphor.
Yep.
We needed the wings
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Yes.
we need
Yes.
the wings,
Yes.
and Scorsese's bringing the wings.
Oppenheimer is a pre-Wings movie for sure.
So no real segue to this one, but also coming out here this weekend to Netflix, Old Dads. 3 dads who become fathers later in the game than they expected must navigate this new world of raising children. It's the pretty classic, that's not how we raise kids in my day sort of thing, but like a whole movie. I don't know, that joke may get a little old, I feel like, throughout it.
ooh, no.
You don't think so?
Nope.
Okay, but you
I'm
would
a
be that dad.
I'm a dad.
This
and
is
this gonna be
exactly for you.
Yes, and I'm pumped. Bill Burr, hilarious. He
Audience,
is-
it's only Ryan.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Okay,
gonna
Bill Burr
be.
is good.
I'm gonna watch this and I'm gonna laugh my butt off, and I'm gonna watch it again in 5 years and think that's so funny, and I can't wait.
Yeah, this is directed towards a very specific audience.
Yeah.
Bill Burr fans, if you like his comedy, you're going to like this.
Yeah.
Because not only is he starring it, he also wrote and directed it as well.
I feel like
So
I didn't know
this is very Bill Burr.
This is Bill Burr's Ben Affleck's Batman, right? Because didn't he direct, star in it, and produce it, right?
No.
Oh no, he was supposed to, and then he dropped
and then it didn't
Never
happen.
mind.
Supposed
Thanks for reminding me of that.
That would have been cool though, but
Back when DC wasn't as confusing as it is now.
Just
but
breaking hearts today.
for real.
He's just
Ryan
what I
woke
do.
up today and chose violence.
I do every day,
Specifically against Nick.
every day.
Specifically against Nick.
I've been to his house. There's a Post-it note on his mirror that says "Must piss Nick off."
Yes,
every day.
That's how
I
we
believe
bond.
it.
That's how we grow our
You have a-
bond
Do
together.
you have a vision board, like a Pinterest vision board?
No, but
No,
but Hadley
I
does. I'm
should.
sure at this
I
point.
do. It's called New Ways to Annoy Bryn.
And it works.
Flawlessly.
I'm almost immune to his by now,
Yeah,
but not quite.
I keep finding new ways.
Everything short of showing up at my house unannounced.
See, you haven't done that, but that's because
I-
usually I keep my address secret for as long as I possibly can.
It's
And
because you're never home.
True.
That's another way I do it too. Yep.
Yep. I know where he parks, so I can look. I can scan the parking lot. And, oh, nope, Nick's not there.
Oh, I drive by her apartment on my way to my house.
Oh,
yeah.
So there's
So
no
you know
hide. I can
every time.
always tell when she's home.
Are our friends just
Yeah.
a couple of stalkers? I'm starting to get some stalkering vibe from our friends
Oh,
here.
no, here's the thing. We know
That's us.
No.
this probably isn't a good thing. We know where the other one is at all times.
At all times.
At all times.
We don't even
if
have,
don't
like-
And you
communicate.
have a family, so
Yeah. We don't have each other's like location shared with each other. Like I have mine on Snapchat, but like
But I know exactly where they are at all times.
yep.
There we go. So it's
So,
much like the Cold War, the U.S. and the Soviets.
Yeah.
It's like
You didn't think you'd hear about that in this episode, did you?
For real.
Didn't think you'd hear a Cold War metaphor, but we did it.
Impacting local and regional communities.
Building connections with peers, professors, and community members.
Collaboration with like-minded individuals.
Opportunities to make a difference both in and outside of the classroom.
Experiential learning.
Student-led organizations and projects.
Find out more on the upcoming podcast series focused on the Center of Innovation and Entrepreneurship at SMSU.
we worked it in.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of the Cold War, this actually is a pretty good segue to the next one here. The Pigeon Tunnel, Apple TV Plus. No, this is not a documentary about birds. It is a documentary, however. I know. Sorry for all you pigeon fanatics out there. This includes the final interview of a man named John Le Carré, who is known to the public as a British author. He wrote Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, another book-to-movie adaptation.
Yep.
He also was part of MI6. So kind of got some inspiration there for the spy novels and everything.
And
so
from the trailer, it kind of sounds like he helped curate like what they do.
So kind of like reinvented MI6 in a weird way. Interesting guy. Unfortunately, he died back in 2020. So this is actually like the last records of like his thoughts and everything like that. Kind of an interesting documentary there. Speaking of documentaries, that takes us to the final movie of this weekend, Silver Dollar Road, coming straight to Amazon Prime. This documentary was made by Raoul Peck. This is the same man who made the award-winning, one of the best documentaries considered by many people, I Am Not Your Negro. This is also going to deal with race here as well, as it is a story that covers a North Carolinian family who has been fighting off land developers for decades. They basically have this like, I don't want to call it beachfront because North Carolina, it's like kind of swampy, but it's waterfront. That's the accurate term. Waterfront property that's been in their family for generations. It started with one of their oldest relatives who was born into slavery, kind of got out of it, became a landowner at the time. Super inspirational. Before he died, he was like telling his family, like, don't let them take this land. This is ours. And they've been fighting. Well, they've been keeping it for a while now. And it wasn't until like the 1970s when land developers were supposedly kind of sabotaging, like trying to really trying to get it from them and everything. So it really shows.
Love the South.
This is not. Look, I said it from the beginning. It was not an inspirational weekend, but these are true stories that need to be told and need to be brought out there.
Yeah.
I, for one, personally prefer the documentary route when it comes to these.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sure Scorsese will do a good job, but you can never really tell what's true or not, and that's always my issue.
Yeah, I was going to say, especially with something like that, it's hard to tell that in a narrative film way. It's easier to get the full story and make sure that nothing is being kind of swept under the rug or
misconstrued or
anything. By doing a documentary style.
Think when you're first looking into something and researching something like that, it's important to go for straight facts and not,
especially with something like that. That is such a big thing.
Well, and one thing I try to do is when I watch narrative films like The Killer of Flower Moon, I love history, so I love looking into that after the fact.
Yep.
That's I think we're kind of in the minority here. I feel like we're all kind of on that same page, but I feel like we're in the minority. I think a lot of people, when they watch movies like that, they're like, I got the gist of it, or they just assume I got all the information. They don't. They either don't. They either don't feel the need to, or they don't have the time to look into that. Whereas, we love stories, we love history and everything. I love looking into it after and being like, okay, how much of this was real? How much of this was wasn't?
I can't tell you how much the Conjuring movie. I can't tell you how much research I did after that movie because I was like, I need to know.
That's a rabbit hole I haven't gone down in a while.
I was gonna say with Oppenheimer, I never looked up so much about Oppenheimer.
World War II is one of my hyperfixations, so I love World War II.
It was crazy.
Yeah. But that is everything coming out here this weekend. Let's talk about some things we've seen in recent times. It's time for some number one recommends. Taylor, do you mind kicking us off here? What's something you've seen, read, watched, anything recently that you recommend other people check out?
Well, I mentioned this on the last podcast. Our Flag Means Death Season 2 just came out. It just came out. Let me tell you, when I saw the trailer for that, I audibly screamed in my room at 10 p.m., and immediately went to go text my old roommate who had introduced me to the show saying, oh my God, season 2 is coming out. I'll be honest, I haven't had much time to watch anything else. I've been getting a lot of Pen 15 stuff though on my For You page, and that's definitely gone on my list for when I have a little bit more time to watch it because it looks very interesting. Not at all what I thought it was when I first saw it.
Yeah.
I'm watching it, I'm like, I absolutely did that in middle school. I need to watch this whole series now.
And just feel like crap
and
about myself.
Just relive drama, I guess. It's great.
I feel like I've heard other people who have watched that show too, kind of in the same boat and everything too. But as I was getting the outline here together, I was seeing some ads for Affleck Means Death, and I'm like, I'd be willing to bet money Taylor recommends that this week. So.
I love that show.
Bryn, what about you? What's something you've watched or read or seen recently that you recommend for other people check out?
Oh my goodness, this is something I rewatched recently, and I revisit it sometimes, and it's the same amount of insane every time I watch it. Repo Man, the Genetic Opera. Sometimes I just I get reminded that it exists and I have to watch it, and I'm disturbed and uncomfortable and just intrigued the entire time,
Okay, so I very rarely do this for number one recommends, but I'm going to need a little bit more context on this one.
You not know what
I can't say I'm familiar with this one.
But I haven't seen it.
Okay, so first of all, Paris Hilton is in it.
Okay.
It's kind of like a dystopian future where cosmetic surgery has gone so far as to people getting their organs changed out with better organs. And you know how you can get a car repossessed when you owe money?
Oh, you can get... Oh, okay.
Well, imagine that. But an organ.
Imagine just sleeping at night and then all of a sudden the bank knocks on your door like, hey, we need to take that liver back. You've missed 4 payments on it.
Hey, your kidney?
Gotta pop it out.
That's
I
funny.
can't, and the guy who plays the Repo Man, I cannot remember the actor's name for the life of me. So, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
The guy who is training Buffy, it's that actor.
Okay. They call it
I was like, if anyone were to know it, I feel like it'd be one of you two.
I can't remember the name. But he plays the Repo Man, and it's an opera. They are singing the whole time.
I love that.
And Paris Hilton is in it for some reason.
Yeah.
It's heavy gothic themes, repossessing organs, and then it's like, is that Paris Hilton? Can you say that's hot, please? Like,
you know what else is an opera? Seussical.
Seussical the musical.
That is an opera.
This is something Taylor reminds me of on a regular basis, and every
because
time
when I found out my Earth was shattered, I was not happy, and I like to bring sadness among others with that fact.
It makes me genuinely upset.
It also makes me genuinely upset.
I feel rage.
Is it Anthony Head?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Totally didn't just look that up.
I mean, that's why we got the laptop here. So we're not. You can see it on my camera. I'm not hiding it. I'm not like trying. It's not like a trivia thing where I'm like googling with my phone.
Trying to be like,
that. Yep. Look over here.
Oh
over here.
yeah, it was this person.
Yeah. Ryan, why don't you take us home here? What's number one recommend you got here for us?
So this week I was able to watch Hulu's America's Most Haunted House, the McCamey Manor documentary. It was very interesting. I think they missed a lot of things. I liked it, but I think there was a lot of things that they were missing. But for not going there, not talking to him, not doing that, it was very well done.
It's so surprising to me that they didn't go there though.
Yeah, and I don't know what the situation was, and like I said, I haven't followed McCamey Manor for like a couple of years. I remember hearing about it a few years ago and seeing the stuff on YouTube, and it was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And now it's like coming out, and then there's YouTubers that are going on now saying it's fake and doing all this, and so it's kind of like, I don't know what to believe, but it was good.
I don't know what's real anymore, man.
Yeah, I think he backed down a lot from what it used to be, and I think he had a lot of backlash. I'm sure something happened that kind of changed all that, but the documentary was good. If that's something that interests you, I would definitely say check it out. If you've heard McCamey Manor or looked it up, definitely check it out and just get some more information. But yeah, that's what I got.
Well, that's going to do it for us here on this episode of Popcorn Bucket List. Please check out Little Women premiering at the SMSU Theater here next week. Again, those show times, as I scroll up, here we are, October 25th, 26th, and 27th. That will be 7:30 p.m. That'll be next Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. October 28th, that Saturday, we'll have both a 2 p.m. and 7:30 p.m. showtime. And finally, your last chance, October 29th, 2 p.m. on Sunday. So don't miss it. It's a great story. Even a shorter version of it, I'm sure, is going to be great and everything. And I always look forward to what you guys do. You guys knock it out of the park every time. So I'll be there. Also, head on over to the Marshall 6 Theater here in Marshall, Minnesota to check out some of the movies we talked about here on this episode and in some past ones as well. For myself, Taylor, Bryn, and Ryan, we'd like to thank you so much for watching, and we will see you at the movies.
Perfect.
That was like the weirdest thumb wrestle I think I've ever seen.